Dr. Tom Davis, and he's been an absolute anchor for the leadership of the Trust. He really stepped in and stepped up to the challenge of being interim CEO in such a calm and resolute way. And so I really wanted to thank him for everything that he's done so far, actually, because he really grasped the challenge of meeting the ambition of our change programme and supported our team members to deliver such consistent, solid results during the pandemic, and has supported many people in the change journey. And I'd like to thank you all for working so positively as well during the last few months. But it's really important that we continue to build on our improvement programme and also the great steps that we've taken in terms of consolidating our performance. And it's fundamental that we do have stable leadership to be able to help us to do that. So as I said earlier today, we did announce that we have a new chief executive who's going to join us in the autumn. We haven't got the precise date yet, but sometime August/September, and that's entirely consistent with the plan that we laid out in January. So today we've announced the appointment of Tom Abel, who's currently it's absolutely right, the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Mid and South Essex Foundation Trust, which means that he's got a background in our region. He's born in Norfolk actually, and so knows the region really, really well. He's got a long history in the NHS, and so knows the challenges both of our trust and also around the system, and challenges that we all share in terms of delivering excellent patient care. He's led large-scale teams, he's had large-scale leadership roles, and he's also been very experienced as an accountable officer previously for CCG, also within our patch, Basel and Brentwood. But what's most striking about him is his absolute passion for delivering services for communities and doing that in partnership with colleagues. I would commend to all of you that he's given us a letter which went out on the staff briefing this morning through the link. And when I asked him about what he would like me to say about his arrival here in the East, the thing that he asked me to say is just please read the letter that he's provided. It's his words and it's his passion and belief that's within there, and his commitment to work together with everybody to be able to make East a better place for patients, staff and communities. So I would ask you to try to get that link through. So this is a really exciting time for us of change, looking forward to September. I'm really, really pleased to say that Dr. Tom Davis will stay as our interim CEO to that point. It's very important that he does stay because of the continuity, consistency. There's still a lot of challenges in front of us that we need to wrestle with. All of the commitments that we've made around our culture improvement programme, investing in certain new technologies and systems, we need to deliver against all of those as per our plan, and Tom will lead us through that along with the executive team. Marcus is also on the call today, so if we've got any detailed questions about anything that we're doing more broadly, then he'll be very happy to answer them. I think that's all I have to say at the moment for around Tom Abel starting with us in the autumn. And I'm very happy to pause there and answer any questions that people might have. But I'll pass over to Marcus and he might just pick up and give you the latest on our oversight meeting today.
Thanks everybody, and really good afternoon. So really, I guess picking up from Nicola's comment, nothing stops, and I think that's really important. Really important to say none of us are going to sit around for the next 6 months and just wait for a different Tom to come in and join us. Why? Because the pace and the urgency says we can't stop, nor would we want to stop actually as a senior team. And I note one of the comments that's come in, and I was going to touch on that around kind of engagement, and you're absolutely right. The value of engagement is two areas. One is doing the engagement and listening, really making sure that in reality, the board, senior leaders, we are really in touch and on the ground, so we get live feedback. We talk about it in evidence terms about triangulation. So having conversations allows us to be known, but importantly allows us to test, to communicate, to talk through. And we are planning as lockdown eases in the sense of the government rollout plan from the 17th of May and from the 21st of June, the incremental ability to be out and about. You'll already start to see some of the leadership team out already applying COVID secure measures and also asking in the areas, particularly around your general managers and your assistant general managers and departmental leads to start having the conversations. it comes back to, and I think a plug almost for the communication survey that was put out there, because we talk about communication, we talk about engagement, but making sure that we have a range of ways really to be able to reach out, to be able to communicate, whether it be personally, because actually we do have individual meetings within people who come forward and would like to speak to us, to more collective and group meetings, but also then about how and what we do with that information. So I think linking to some of the cultural work and some of the feedback, we've spoken about this when I've been doing some of these sessions before, particularly about how we need to be shown to not just listen, but to do something with the listening. If not, people get almost fed up with telling us because we've already told you the scenario. And that's really important, to make sure that our systems and processes allow change to happen, and that we do that in a way that's very open. I'm hoping that people would feel from, when we've been on these sessions, we are here to answer questions. We'll be as open and transparent in the way that we approach these, to be very genuine, because actually that's how we approach our work, and that is how we approach almost every day that we come here and every task that we have, because we passionately want to make it better, make it different, and support you. Our job, and I'll reiterate it from my point of view in the exec team, is simply to say it quick, which is looking after our people and our patients. That is why we're here. Within there's a number of complexities, and also dealing with a number of those legacy areas as well. I think the other bit I just kind of wanted to talk about, I guess, today was really around some of the where we go next steps in the cultural journey of the organisation. We know that for the last 6 months, and Nicola leading from a board perspective with all of us, this ability to react and respond to the immediacy of the concern, the ability to encourage freedom to speak up, the ability to put rapid support, rapid intervention, rapid kind of assistance in there, has been a real focus, because that was the bit that needed to happen. It was the bit that needed to make a difference from people who are and were in difficult situations. That continues, and we absolutely ask people to be able to come forward, to speak up, to speak out, because that's really important. But it's also now time to start looking at what the future looks like in terms of addressing the root cause. So Steve Mason, as cultural director, would always say to me in meetings, it's about making sure that we really get to the bottom of this. We make sure that we start to deal with the root cause. Why? If not, A, it may not mean anything, and B, you might not actually be dealing with the thing that makes a difference. You could deal kind of with a concern, but unless you understand it, are you really addressing it properly, totality, and delivering that as well? I use a really crude example, which is we could put everybody in a course saying, please do better course. The reality is, if it's not the right content, the right approach, the right meaning, actually it won't make a difference. And that's when you design any of these. But I think today we were able to share at high level with our regulators and our colleagues through our oversight and assurance forum that happens in special measures, the kind of the themes that we believe make a difference. Now, the themes that make a difference are based on the feedback that you've been able to give us, both in terms of surveys, our external stakeholders, the conversations we have with people, importantly, the voice that individuals have given to the cultural steering group through freedom to speak up, the advocacy that comes in there, our learned experience, our historic casework, and every day that we progress, we will learn and learn more. But actually, it does come back to some really key triangulated themes, and those themes are stuff that is really important. We've classed them as I've dubbed them myself as essential foundations. You really need to get these in place. So it doesn't matter how fancy or how kind of futuristic we want to be, is if we don't get some of these right, and we don't take time to embed them from a trust, from the trust board, the commitment, and it kind of links back to the conversation engagement piece. You kind of need to do both. We need to be able to listen, but also do something with it. Actually, the bit here about building relationships, working with you to build trust, for us all to take kind of some of that personal responsibility. And I've given you some examples of going, I come to work to know I take a level of personal responsibility in the job that I do, the personal responsibility in the way that I act and behave, but more globally to coming together to do that, but also dealing with the areas that we need to. And I know that the feedback is some of those things that we've never quite got over the line that have made a sustained difference, such as end of shift overruns. and also rest breaks. We know that, you know, to be fair, taking this role, they're an Achilles heel for me to try and make it better for you as much as they are for you who live them and have late finishes and have disturbed and disrupted rest breaks. So the answer is, actually, if I don't have all the answers, if you don't have all the answers, how can we work together to come up with some answers and be very open to trialing things? And so we're going to start some work with Unison in terms of some joint work and a number of themes, so we can be very open, very transparent in kind of what's driving, what needs to happen with regards to why we're doing things, what's driving us, what are external people saying, how do we benchmark with regards to other ambulance trusts, how do we make a difference for yourselves in the workplace? You know, ultimately, I genuinely say this and believe in this, that, you know, it is our people and our patients. You are our people. In fact, we're all our people. It's how do we look after each other? And the other bit that kind of struck me in the sense of while we look at some underpinning bits around say leadership development and supporting capability capacity, looking at how we improve quality or use quality improvement methodology, how do we take it forward, is also about behaviours and civility in the workplace. And that's a really interesting bit that's come out from some of the cultural work. Because we talk culture, and I know some of the feedback when I've been speaking with people is that, give me a definition of what you mean by culture, because this can seem really kind of theoretical or kind of can seem really intense. In reality, we're talking about kind of what happens and how it happens every day. That's my really simplistic, uneducated but non-academic take on it. It's how we do and how we live and how we work in this organisation on a daily basis, how we treat each other, and how we work and kind of, I guess, share in a way that's respectful, that is civility. So I'm very happy to have very open conversations with people. I'm very happy to share with all of those. The bit is, it's about how we do all of those, you know, and people can tell me I'm wrong. I'm very happy to have conversations in the sense of, if we don't think we've got it right, we will talk through those. But again, with all of those, it's how we do it. And you may notice this in colleagues when and conversations, and the approaches for anyone is you start to get the eye rolling, the tutting, the talking over people. And all of those are signs of incivility. And actually, if you think about it now, and the examples I gave when I was last week and the time before when I was doing this session, is, you know, some of these things are happening right here, right now. Right here, right now, we've still got that challenge, whether it be inappropriate comments against colleagues, whether it be inappropriate behaviour, the banter, conversation about what's acceptable. And I was speaking with a colleague this morning about that in terms of reminiscing almost in terms of being here 20 years, plus thinking about actually how society, and when, I guess for me, reflecting that what may have been acceptable 20 years ago and how society now moves forward and judges kind of, I guess, the acceptance is something that within the workplace, and how we move forward to baseline, rebalance, and think about that kind of what is appropriate. And I can't help think back to some of the stuff in the news, and we spoke about kind of being safe at work in a variety of things. When you think back to Sarah Everard case and the public kind of demarcation now and the rebalancing of what's acceptable about safety for women in society. And you look at kind of the concern about the PCSO who tragically found deceased, and you start to look at that and the conversations around areas, particularly, say, the Equality and Human Rights Commission, and those are the kind of thing that we need to be able to do as well. So thank you for kind of allowing me to share some thoughts and tie those back together again.
Thank you very much, Marcus, for such an open discussion about some of the challenges that we've got, and actually just saying what it is really, what it feels like sometimes in the types of areas that we have challenges in. And I just wanted to just close the loop back to appointment of a new chief executive, because when we go through these processes, right foremost in front of mind is about a values fit, and about what are the values that we're trying to drive, introduce and encourage within the way that we talk and work and be with each other. And Tom Abel is absolutely consistent with everything that we're trying to achieve for each other in the trust at the moment. And so everything, very eloquently spoken there, Marcus, everything will continue and be reconfirmed and not refocus, but we can be reassured that, the themes that we're currently leading on will continue, which is really important because we can't chop and change. I thought I would just mention about the meeting that we've enjoyed this afternoon, just for all colleagues' information, that we are very much held to account on our promises and commitments around our improvement activity. And so we have a wide-ranging meeting with many regulators and stakeholders once a month, which happened today. There's probably about 40 or 50 people on the call. We provide a large amount of data and information, and we also talk through our progress and also where we're putting our focus and priorities. I just wanted to update us insofar as it was a positive meeting. We were able to demonstrate that we've made some changes and some progress, but we're also very open about the scale of the challenge and how we need to move faster or deeper into certain areas. The one thing I just wanted to share with colleagues is that one of our colleagues, Barbara Shreve, who's a paramedic in Loughton, I believe, is a co-chair of our All Women of East staff-led network, spoke to the group, and it was fantastic to hear from her perspective, uncoached and unstructured, in terms of how these staff-led groups which focus on diversity are making some difference. Again, we've got further to go in terms of publicising and supporting and making sure that the groups themselves have the resources and the support to be able to deliver on their own agenda. But nevertheless, this wide-ranging group of people from the HEE, from the CQC, obviously, from NHSEI, from other groups, Health Watch, for example, and the CCGs, really valued hearing from our staff, and they asked actually if we could do more of that, because to them that's the whole purpose of our improvement journey, that we're making life different, deep in the organisation, as I say, for staff but also for patients. So overall a positive meeting. We've moved forward, but recognise more to do, and lots of priorities that we just need to make sure that we get them in the right order with the right focus as we go through the what could be a busy summer. So that was, I guess, the last thing that I would close on.
Thanks, Nicola. I think I was just going to pick up a little bit on the theme about the openness, and the openness works, I guess, both ways in terms of regulator-wise. So I wouldn't want anyone to think that when we go to our regulatory meetings, we sit there with a painted brush saying, look at the best picture we can paint, and everything is perfect. I think we are very open and respectful in that, particularly around, I guess, being open where we haven't got it right as well. So look, I don't sit here in the last 6 months since the CQC report or over the last 2 years in respect of it saying we've got absolutely everything right, and even now there's a bit here for me. We really know that it doesn't always get right, and I think if we have a fear of failure, then you don't necessarily deal with those or acknowledge those. And I guess again, what I mean by that is you've got to try and get it right more often than you get it wrong, because clearly that's important, because you can't try and to set up. But actually, if we are, I guess, personally as arrogant to think we can always get it right or we can't take on people's views, then that for me is one of the really big changes, actually, the ability to be able to reflect, to be open, to learn, to encourage people. Because actually, if you encourage people to come forward because they won't have got it right, then that's a big cultural change. Because actually, it's not here about being punitive, it's about being very open. And we are trying to role model that as well. And I will take responsibility for stuff. Look, I haven't got it right, and I have to be very open with that. Does it worry me? Of course it worries me, because actually you always want to come to work to do a good job, but you learn from it and you do something different with it next time. And they're the kind of things that we share with regulators as well. Why? Because again, importantly, we want them to come and speak to you. Our CCG colleagues will come and speak with you. People will come and speak with you. You'll be more spoken to than any time before. And so actually, we're not asking you to do anything other than be truthful. And actually, that's really important. And that's always really important when it comes to how are things. Hence the reason we want to speak with you as well, because actually we want to try and change stuff if it's not right. And that's really important. And also, if we are doing things, we kind of need to know that, because if it's not quite right or we need to modify it, then that's exactly what we need to do, and we need to learn from that. And that's the ability in the partnership to be able to do it.